Yes, guys, hello and welcome back to the Spurs-related YouTube channel and podcast. I hope everyone is doing very well today. Today, we have got lots to catch up on, including a new transfer in at White Hart Lane, one of which that I have been very keen to sign for 6, 7, 8 weeks. Actually, go back 2-3 years. I was talking about this guy on this channel before he even went to Bayern Munich, and that is João Palhinha. Is a here we go as per Fabrizio Romano last night. And so he is joining us this window. But as you can see, I'm joined alongside a couple of amazing guests, one of which is very familiar with the channel in the form of Thomas Frank's AI's son. We like to call him George. That is Frank Thomas. That is his real name, guys, if you didn't already know.
I was wondering if that was like a joke or your actual name.
No, it is real. It is real. Frank, just very quickly, mate, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good. It's nice that we've actually got some slightly positive news to talk about for once, as opposed to being negative and, miserable around Tottenham. Obviously, a good win yesterday, good performance yesterday, signing last night. So all is good.
Absolutely, all's good. Yeah, Herbalgi winners. What is it? Herbalgi Trophy winners. You never sing that. We had a bit
Herbology
of
Cup.
Herbology Cup, yeah. Anyway, and we've also, as you can see, got George Achillia alongside us. It's been a while, George, maybe a year or two. We went a bit inactive on here, but we're back. We're loving the transfer news. But how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, it must have been a while because I'm pretty sure I was in my old house the last time, because I remember it was a different setup, and that was about over a year and a half ago at least. So yeah, no, pleasure to be back on. I'm doing well. Yeah, like you guys said, happy to just have some positive transfer news, I guess. And let's just get straight into it, I guess, if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Great to have you back on. And yeah, your setup has been upgraded slightly, and your collection of Tottenham shirts there absolutely outdoing my green screen temporary background I've got going on. So yeah, love that, mate. And guys, keep on smashing that like button for me. I'm only allowed 2 or 3 promos per episode. I've set myself now. So there's the first one. If you could all smash that like button when you join, smash the subscribe, and get over to George's channel, which we'll plug later on in the video, and turn on those notification bells to never miss an upload or live stream. But let's go straight into things. Let's welcome some people in on the chat, and then let's get into the João Palhinha stuff straight away. Nicholas is saying, why no start? That's because I have terrible time management skills. It's all my fault, and I'm never on time. So, Nicholas, if you didn't know about me so far, that's why. Simon's saying, evening, boys. Things are moving at last. They are indeed moving. Happy to see Palhinha finally joined Tottenham. For like I said, been linked with him for 2 or 3 years. But yeah, really excited to see how he does. And also Scott's in here saying hello, everyone. And guys, keep whacking your comments in. And as the numbers grow, keep on supporting the channel. It really does mean a lot. So, boys, let's get into things. Let's talk about João Palhinha, who has joined Tottenham Hotspur on a loan deal, which includes a €30 million buy option for Tottenham that is non-mandatory. The salary is covered by Spurs. Bayern said yes, and Palhinha is now travelling for medical tests, which I believe is now all done today. Let's start with George. George, are you excited for this one, mate? And is this something you think Tottenham need for this season?
You know what? I'm a really mixed bag about this one. I think only because, and it's hard to explain this, but I kind of have 2 ways of looking at it. If I take the actual move in isolation, like the transfer in isolation itself, I like it. I like the fact that it's a loan to begin with. And I like the fact that the buy option's not that big. It works out, like £21 million-ish, roughly, guaranteed. Yeah. So I like that aspect of it, considering he's 30 years old. Obviously, I loved him when he was at Fulham. I thought he was probably the best defensive mid in the league, to be honest with you, at that time. And I was gutted we couldn't get him then, especially because I think he would have worked quite well for Ange in that sort of single, just monster sort of DM that we sort of needed at the time.
Agreed.
So all in all, I'm happy with him as long as we can get that version of him back. I think I was saying this off air as well. For me, though, I thought the priority for that sort of defensive mid position, I wanted someone that was really good on the ball in terms of their passing ability from deep. Your sort of Adam Wharton-esque players, your deep line playmakers. Because the thing is, we don't have that sort of player, but I agree we don't also have a destroyer either. My view of it was I didn't want us to over-rely on Porro and over-rely on Romero to sort of make those line breaking passes, because I just don't think Palhinha's that great at it. I think he's okay. He's not bad. I just don't think he doesn't specialize in that area. But clearly Thomas Frank, I think you can hear it from that Arsenal game when he was giving his pre-match talk about how winning your duels is like a priority. Every 50-50, you've got to win. I think in this first year, it seems to be that his priority is making us a difficult team to beat, as opposed to being a really technical side. So I can understand why it's happening. It's just I think I personally would have prioritized a deep line playmaker over it, because our squad's too big to get both this summer.
Yeah, I think if I'm going to butt in there, I completely agree with everything. I mean, the point you made that I think is most sort of interesting is you said about how they're trying to build a side that you're not going to bully and you're going to have to really work hard to beat. I saw something earlier on, and it was the top 3 most duels won in the Premier League, not last season, but the season before when Palhinha was in the league. And both Palhinha and Kudus were in the top 3 in the Premier League for the most duels won, which is, massively interesting, because it's obvious that Thomas Frank's trying to build a team like he did at Brentford, that you had to, if you were going to break them down, if you were going to beat Brentford, you had to work hard. You had to work twice. As you knew they were going to work hard, you had to work twice as hard. You had to match them in everything, in their running, in their tackles, the lot. Whereas too often, I mean, Jose said it when he was with us. Too often, Spurs are too nice, and I know we just won something, but you don't tend to win or be successful long term by being nice. And so, as much as I'm kind of a little bit unsure that Palhinha is the right fit for everything we want to do, I think when we play smaller teams, he might be quite frustrating.
Agreed.
He might be quite a little bit tedious on the ball, and a little bit, maybe he's the wrong one to have on the pitch then. But when we play Manchester City in that second game of the season, or PSG in 2 weeks' time, or whatever it be, they're the sort of games that he's going to be a monster, I think, because now you've got a proper tackler, as you say, a destroyer that's going to win that ball. And hopefully then, if you've got someone, whether it be Bergvall next to him or someone that's very good on the ball and has real quality on the ball, you're going to be able to get up the pitch quicker and easier and create more, having someone that can sit in that role and do that.
No, I agree totally. I think, yeah, exactly. And like I was saying before, as much as I personally would have preferred someone that can play out, I agree 100% that we just need to be bastards, basically. Sorry, a better phrase.
Demonetized on the
sorry. But it's true though. It's just how we need to be. And I think what I liked is that Arsenal game proved that. I think we were being more aggressive in the way that we were tackling. You could see it from Bentancur. You could see it from Sarr in the way he was winning the ball back. Even Bergvall. All right, a couple of them were fouls, but Danzo when he came on against Gyökeres, like he was just tussling and pushing him the whole time. Like I think it's us being physical with opposition, and especially like you said against the better teams like your City and Liverpool's, we struggle in that aspect. So I can 100% see why he wants Palhinha, 100%. I just hope that it works out, that we get the Fulham version of him as opposed to the version last year that got injured for 3 months. I think it was nearly 3 months he was out. So fingers crossed that's not having any sort of knock-on effects.
Sure, yeah, it's exactly what's the point. FC, he's our most positive subscriber on the channel, George. If you hadn't known already, get the wheelchair out. It's Perisic 2.0. Spotlight on Spurs saying feels like a stopgap signing, like Palacios. Wow, Wilson Palacios. That's a throwback. You got a Wilson Palacios jersey there, George?
No, I really should. Really should.
Pascal Chimbonda.
I always picture Chimbonda in that. I think it might have been this year actually, but like the really light blue one we had of it. That's one I picture Chimbonda in the most.
Yeah. I think I picture more Robbie Keane. I think. Chris Bell saying couldn't disagree anymore. Chris, let us know why you couldn't disagree anymore. Let's get this spiced up. We've not had a 6 since Wanyama. Palhinha is an incredible deal. Listen, guys, I think I'm feeling more positive that maybe on this one. I think is exactly what we need. I think we don't have someone that can absolutely. It's similar to what you guys are saying, of course, but like someone that can absolutely just crunch someone. The most similar player that we've had in recent years is probably Eric Dyer when he was playing in defensive mid, or even a Wanyama, as someone's put in the chat. I think we've got a lot of nice guys, like Frank Thomas said. We've got Bergvall, amazing on the ball, but doesn't really put in a smasher, does he? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's good to have someone like that, and we won't necessarily play Palhinha every game, I don't think. Especially if Basuma sticks around, maybe he will be going now. You've got lots of options there. Bentancur as well. Sarr obviously is absolutely smashing it. There's a bit of a dilemma here for.
You know what? I think Champions League is where Palhinha is going to be probably really, really useful for us. Because, like you said, when you're playing obviously, I know we're going to have a test in a couple of weeks in the Super Cup anyway, but if you're coming up against PSG, if you're coming up against Real Madrid and whatnot, I think having that player that is just so strong on the ball and the ability to stop attacks from your Vinny Juniors and Mbappé's, Desiree Doués, whoever it might be, I agree. I think that's really important. I think, like my ideal world is that we got someone like Palhinha as well as someone like Wharton. Obviously not necessarily Wharton, because he would have been 100 million, but you know what I mean? Like, ideally I would have liked to have both, because we're missing both, which is why I would have prioritized the passer. But 100% I can see how this could be really useful for us next season.
Yeah, I've got a few other options if it's not a Wharton, which we've discussed on the channel recently. Georgia, I know you've been on other channels discussing potential midfielders, but one that Frank and I absolutely love, Frank's kind of convinced me on this guy, is Angelo Stiller from Stuttgart. He's an absolute monster, and I think he can play as a 6 and an 8 as well, and his passing is just ridiculous. And actually, I want to mention passing on Palhinha. And guys, keep whacking your comments in. There's 110 of you already in after 10 minutes. Really appreciate all the live views, all the people watching on repeat. Make sure you're smashing the like. I've now used 2 of my plugs out of 3 after 10 minutes, guys. I'm in the mud here. But yeah, guys, keep smashing the like, keep smashing the subscribe. Really appreciate all the great support on the channel. And if you want to support the channel in any way, shape or form as well, there is a membership option below. We've had no members yet after 3 days of having memberships. To see who the first member is, you get on the Hall of Fame, on the Spurs-related Hall of Fame. And also you can do a super chat if you want a question for the panel, and to skip the queue, there is that super chat option available. But it's 2 out of 3 on the plugs. Guys, let's talk about the stats of Palhinha, because let's be honest, aerial duels 1, top 96 percentile really stands out. This is compared to the top 5 leagues, UCL and UEL over the last year. Top 93 percentile for tackles, top 97 percentile for pass completion. I've seen a lot of people online say you can't pass a ball. I mean, these stats say otherwise, don't they, Frank?
Yeah, they do. I mean, I guess the kind of, when you look at the progressive numbers for passing and carries are quite low. And so, as I kind of say, I think he is going to be someone that's going to be a top player when he's got someone next to him that can be more progressive. I mean, we'll get into it in a little while, but Enzo Millot is one that probably would work well next to him in terms of when you compare their numbers, they're kind of polar opposites. And I think you need someone that's a polar opposite next to Palhinha for him to probably be at his best. Because I mean, we've seen it with so many clubs that have like Fabinho when he was at Liverpool would do this sort of job. Kante at Chelsea did this sort of job in recent times. You know, a real tough tackler that would just sit there. They weren't required to do anything else. And so often we saw, partially because of the system, but in general, it's the type of players they are. Basuma like to get around, Bentancur like to get around, and they often weren't where they were supposed to be. This is a proper 6 that we're signing, and that's important. So in that double pivot, having someone next to him that can be progressive, I think Bergvall is probably the best at that of the options we've got. I mean, obviously we've seen Sarr as well in the last couple of games. Looks exciting again. But yeah, I mean, you kind of need someone that's the complete opposite to him, that is progressive and is more of a passer going forward and can create more. But his passing numbers in general are pretty good, just slightly lower, obviously, on the progressive side.
Yeah, I think for me is like because those are from the last 365 days, right? I think that said.
Yes. Yeah.
I think where you've kind of got to take those passing statistics with a pinch of salt in terms of it being good for the passes attempted and completed is he is playing for Bayern Munich, and naturally they are going to dominate most teams that they play in their league, which is why I think, yeah, like you said, most people focus on the progressive passes to learn the sort of like style of passing that he does. So yeah, and look, it's by no means awful. But I completely agree. If you've got him alongside someone that can progress the ball, and I think, you know what, where we probably are different for Brentford is we probably are going to rely somewhat on Porro and Romero. Those guys are so good at creating long ball chances from deeper areas, even from the goalkeeper. I know Kinski's already great at it. I think Vicario has improved already, just looking at that Arsenal game. Few wayward ones going off the pitch when he tried to find a fullback, but when he went forward towards like Richarlison, for example, I think he did a lot better than he's done in the past. So I think maybe we're going to rely on the defenders to play the sort of long balls over to our attackers more so than the midfield. So yeah, I can see how it works for sure.
Sure. No, absolutely. It's going to be exciting. I guess kind of leads us naturally on to talking about maybe who do you reckon's going to leave, George? I'll go back to you because Frank and I have discussed Basuma potentially because he's only got, I believe, 1 year left on his deal. Someone's put in the chat, great, now sell Basuma. What's your thoughts? Because I think we are going to see a couple of outgoings. Solomon's gone a bit quiet. Richarlison, I've seen, links elsewhere. What do you think? Who do you reckon will leave the club this summer?
I think it will be Basuma, I think because looking at it, you're not going to sell Bergvall. Fantastic young talent. Not going to move him on. Sarr is basically playing himself into the first team, let alone sticking around for the squad. Then Bentancur, for me, it's basically a toss-up between Bentancur and Basuma because I'm pretty sure they've both got 1 year left. And I believe from what we're hearing, the idea is one leaves and the other one gets a contract extension. If we're taking all the games so far as to how maybe Frank's thinking for the team, Bentancur's getting far more important minutes for me. And to be honest with you, I think Bentancur on his day is the better player. I think, unfortunately, he just got hampered a lot by injuries. So I am on the side that I think Basuma is most likely to leave or be sold, shall I say. Bentancur, we might give an extension, or maybe we're just going to use the next year to sort of use him to kind of let Bergvall, let Sarr develop more. Or maybe if we are signing another centre mid, for example, maybe they stick around more. But yeah, I think it's most likely Basuma at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, do you know what, guys? I don't know if this is harsh, and guys, you can shut me down if you disagree, but I'm just not convinced that Bentancur is what he was when he joined in, what was it, 2022 or 3? Obviously he's had his injuries, similar to what you were saying, George, but I don't know. Every time I see him play, I feel like he never sets the world alight. And guys, if you think I'm wrong, please, I'm happy for a debate. But I don't know what it is about Bentancur, but I also just don't see him being that reliable for a whole season. What do you guys think?
I think that at the back end of last year, the last couple of months, he started to look like he was before the injury. It's taken a while. It's taken a long while, but from March onwards, I'd say I think that was the best we've seen him probably since the ACL injury. I mean, don't get me wrong, that he's not perfect yet, but I have always been a big fan of him. I mean, I've waxed lyrical about him a number of times. I think he's a top player, and he's certainly one that if they went and gave him a new contract, I'd be more than happy, because yesterday I thought he had a quietly good game. Obviously, you can't read too much into it because it is pre-season and friendlies and whatever, and intensity is different. But quietly, I thought he sort of controlled a lot of it. He dictated parts of it when we had the ball, and we didn't always have the ball yesterday. There were times when we were under the pump a bit, but when we did get that ball, he was one that tended to calm it down for everyone else and tend to have that control. And I was quite impressed with him yesterday, as I have been for the last couple of months, to be honest.
Okay, George, anything to add on that? Do you agree more with Frank, or?
Yeah, I think so. There was what game was it? There was one game in particular last year that he really did look like himself. I can't remember who it was against, but either way, I think it's because it's basically between him and Basuma. The issue I have with Basuma, and don't get me wrong, that kind of lead into the Champions League final and even the Europa League final, even the Europa League final itself, I personally thought he was man of the match. He was brilliant in the quarters and the semis and the final. The problem we have with Basuma is just the consistency is not there. Whereas I think the Bentancur issue was more him trying to recover and get back to his old self because of an injury. Sure. Basuma is almost self-inflicted he had that whole scenario against Luton where he got his red card for just something ridiculous. And ever since then, it just feels like he's been insanely inconsistent, only until that lead up to the Europa League final. And I feel like we've got to move one of those on, really, because we don't have the room for them, and we need to raise probably some money if we want to bring in replacements. Sure. I just don't see a world where it's not Basuma out of the two of those.
Yeah, absolutely interesting. We'll get into in a few minutes' time how it now fits with Palhinha. Frank Thomas, aka Thomas Frank's AI son, has got the tactics board open, so I look forward to that segment. And George, I'm sure you'll be able to join in on that. But let's talk about one more point about Palhinha. This is quite a nice stat. The most tackles made across the 2022, 2023, and 2023-2024 Premier League seasons. João Palhinha absolutely cleared everyone by 109 tackles. That is absolutely nuts numbers. And as you were saying, George, let's hope we're getting the Fulham Palhinha and not the Bayern Munich Palhinha here. He also won more duels than any other Premier League player during those 2 years at Fulham. George, anything to add to that? I mean, what an absolutely unreal stat that is.
That is tailor-made for Thomas Frank. That is just perfect, isn't it? Like, I think if there's any manager out there that I think could get the best out of that version of Palhinha, then it has to be Thomas Frank. So I think it's going to be good. I think, like I was saying earlier in the show, as long as that long time sort of set aside with his injury last season, as long as that's not impacted him long term, where he's going to get consistent injuries, and maybe it's just like a one-off scenario. I don't see a world how Thomas Frank doesn't bring that back out of him, because he's so good at improving players. And in this scenario, Palhinha's already been there and done that for multiple seasons. So all he has to do is kind of unlock it again. Do you know what I mean? So, and to be honest, it's not like he ever lost it. I think it's just the way he played just didn't suit Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich is all about dominance and passing ability and playing in that respect. I think when I looked at the stats when trying to look at defensive midfielders, Joshua Kimmich came up so high across the board for progressive passes and all that sort of stuff. Whereas if that's just not how Company wants to set up and play, there's no wonder Palhinha struggled there. Whereas you stick him in a Thomas Frank system, I feel like he should do really well.
He's going to cook. I'm actually so excited about it. Like I've been saying about Palhinha on this channel since genuinely 2022. Like I wish I brought up the clip. Like it's nuts. Even when you search on Google, guys, Palhinha Spurs, the top video is us from like 3 years ago talking about how he's perfect for Spurs. So maybe we've gone too late on this one. Like he's nearly, is he 30 now? Like maybe we didn't sign him when we should have done. Maybe we should have signed him when he went from Fulham to Bayern. But we are where we're at, and I'm very excited, to be honest, guys. I think this is actually an underrated deal. Hopefully most of you guys agree. I'm going to put a little poll in the chat to see how many of you guys are buzzing for this signing. But let's talk about another signing, because that's been about 20 minutes on Palhinha. Let's see how he performs. I'm guessing he's going to be included once it's announced in one of the friendlies or the Super Cup before the season starts. But let's talk about the new link today. And guys, keep whacking your comments in the chat. 200 of you now watching live on YouTube almost. Great numbers for a 6 p.m. on a Friday. Please keep smashing that like button. I'm not counting that as my one of my plugs because someone else put it above. So keep smashing that like button as people are saying. Smash the subscribe. Let's get 100 likes. Let's get that up. It's only on 30. So let's see if you guys can do that. But let's talk about this new link. And Frank, I'm going to let you lead this one, because I'm going to be honest, I don't think this is a tier 1, 2, or maybe even tier 3 source, but it's food for thought. So I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, I mean, I saw someone that was another Atletico page basically say that it wasn't probably true. But then on the flip side, I saw a Stuttgart fan say, or some Stuttgart account that someone shared, that saying that they think it could be true. So as with Tottenham, usually no one's actually got a clue until it happens. But I mean, as I say, I'm not massively knowledgeable on him. I know more about, as we sort of said, about Angelo Stiller out the two. But this is kind of what I mean about having someone that accompanies a tackler. Stiller is obviously a passer as well, but is very good as a tackler. And Enzo Millot is kind of the opposite of that from what I gauged, that he's more of a more of a Bergvall, Bentancur type that's going to get the ball and drive you forward and take you forward. And it's also, I think it's quite cheap. I think that the numbers they were looking at were about 20 million quid, or that could have been euros actually. So it's quite a low fee. If it's one that they think they can get done and one that they think that Thomas Frank wants, first of all, and he would fit the system. I think we've got the numbers on here of compared to Morgan Gibbs-White, which kind of was an interesting look. Have we got that slide? 1 second. Yeah, that's the one. And I think this kind of shows that, you know, he's, I mean, we've seen it so many times that I'm sure you could probably find out who Tottenham want if you go and look at half of these stats and take off the top 3 of, you know, from each price range and stick them in a spreadsheet. You could probably find out Tottenham's summer window every year. And, you know, this is quite clearly the route they're going down. They want someone that can, the key passes numbers for both him and Gibbs-White are very high. Progressive passes are up there as well, but it's the defensive side that is less so. Milot can play as a 10, he can play as an 8. So can Gibbs-White. Obviously, we spoke a lot about how Gibbs-White could fit in that double pivot. I think Milo is that same sort of player. His carrying is very good. Slightly lower than Gibbs-White, but yeah, we're talking about Gibbs-White, who's one of the better ball carriers probably in the Premier League. So there's a lot of cause to be positive and sort of excited by this if it goes ahead, because he looks like he could be quite a top player.
Yeah, pretty exciting. I mean, incredible stat there. How similar he is to Morgan Gibbs-White. And I guess the question, the key question on everyone's mind is probably, do we actually need someone that's the same caliber as a Gibbs-White? Because I've seen a lot of people say we don't even need a 10 or an 8. George, what's your thoughts on that? Like, obviously, I haven't got your thoughts on Morgan Gibbs-White falling through first, but were you gutted about that? But B, do you think we need an adequate replacement for the fact that didn't go through?
Well, for starters, I didn't know we needed it at the time. But the moment that we got there, here we go. I was like, oh my God, what a player. Like, it's one of those ones where I love Morgan Gibbs-White. I think he's been brilliant the last few years. I just never really thought of him as an option for Spurs because I just didn't know we were targeting that sort of player. But the moment we actually were linked and we did sign him, so to speak, I was like, oh my God, that's actually a really, really, really good move. So yeah, I was absolutely gutted when that didn't go through, if I'm being honest with you, because like you guys said, it does so well at being a number 8. You could be a number 10. I think with the way Forest played, it was a lot of like, you had to work hard. Like, it's about his pressing was good. Ran his socks off. I think he has some of the best numbers in the league, actually, for like kind of distance ran, similar to Kulusevski, actually. But so yeah, naturally gutted about it. I mean, the fact that that Milo is so similar, I think, is kind of showing that we are after this sort of player. And to whether I think we do or not, I think when we first started the window and I was trying to think what kind of players we should be after, I do think that a 10 is important, because for me, obviously you've got Maddison. I think he's brilliant when he's fit. I think he's like one of the first names in the team sheet for me. I think he's criminally underrated. But we all know he gets injured every single season for quite a while. And Leicester fans warned us as well that he has a third season incredible, a third of the season injured, and then the other third of the season kind of recovering from that injury. So we have to prepare for that scenario. I think last season showed us completely that we really needed him. The difference is we obviously had Kulusevski to sort of step in when he wasn't available. And with the way Frank plays, I actually would see Kulusevski probably go back to being a right winger again, as opposed to being a central attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
So really, if that's the case, obviously we won't know for a while, and he's out for a while. But let's say he does come back and does play on the wing again. That only leaves us James Maddison as like the only 10 of the club. I thought we would be after a sort of 10 left wing hybrid when you got linked to like Eze, Xavi Simons. Like, I thought that was more what we're after, but instead it looks like we're going for someone that's more, can be a 10, can be an 8. I mean, I've just got Opta Analyst up right now showing Milot's average positions, or like where he played the most this season. They've got it as 24% cam, 22% centre mid, 20% right wing. Wow. So he's very flexible, can play across the 3. He's even played 4% striker, which is quite funny, actually. Wow. And yeah, just even looking at his, like, it shows his like his goals, his shots, his touch in the box, touches in the box. He's in the 90th percentile, 86th percentile, and 89th percentile. for these positions. So he's clearly someone that's going to be involved in the attack a lot, but also can do a lot of the groundwork. So it seems to be like a really, really clever signing.
Yeah, no, well broken down. Yeah, it's interesting that he's very versatile, a bit like a Morgan Gibbs-White who can play off the wing and play attacking midfield and the number 8 as well. And yeah, maybe even if he can play in goal as well to come and catch some crosses that Vicario can't do, even better. But in terms of these stats, where I think you said you were on a different site, George. But comparing to attacking midfielders and wingers, top 92 percentile for passes attempted, 96 percentile for pass completion. Frank, anything else stand out for you there? And I know you've got a bit of news to bring us. Guys, don't all go nuts. It's not transfer news, but it is quite important news. But yeah, Frank, I'll hand the mic to you.
Yeah, I'll start with that then, and we'll go back to this. It was from the Daily Mail about a minute ago, so whether or not it's going to be true, who knows?
Tier 900 then.
Yeah, exactly. Whether or not it's true, but it's that Dele Alli is apparently considering now retiring from professional football, which is very sad. And yeah, I wish him all the best if he does, in whatever he does. I hope that he gets some sort of role within the Premier League or within their club, in helping younger guys with mental health and that sort of thing. I feel that'd be a role that would be brilliant for him to get into. Yeah, I mean, it's just very sad because he was probably a hero of mine, as of many, for those couple of years. Really sad, so yeah, that's come out in the last minute. So whether or not it's true is a different argument. But
way to put a damper on the stream, Frank. We were feeling good about signings. We were buzzing about Palhinha, talking about Milot, and then bang, Dele Alli's basically resigned.
It's tough for him, right? He's tried to revive his career at Everton. He's tried to do it at Como now, and it just seems to not stick, right? So I think it's just, unfortunately, it's just how it seems to be going. That's a real shame.
Yeah, I saw a game last season. I think it was when they were playing Milan at the San Siro, and he got a red card. He was on the pitch for about 2 minutes. He did something really stupid, and then he decided to make a joke out of it with who's the player, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, because I think he fouled him, and I was just like, you know what, like he's just not taking it seriously, is he? But anyway, it is very sad, and hopefully goes on to do something in football, as you said, Frank. But okay, let's move back on to the stats. What, Frank, did anything else that stand out from this guy, and then we'll get into the sort of how Palhinha fits in and anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that his defensive numbers and like his interceptions and blocks are still good enough. We said that he can play even further forward than maybe even Gibbs-White and playing than what's the front three. So his defensive numbers are still good. As I say, that Kudus' defensive numbers are quite good. That Thomas Frank's quite clearly building a team that, let's say, is going to be tough to break down, and you're going to have to work twice as hard if you want to beat Tottenham. And then that's going to be the bare minimum. So that's interesting. But then just the fact that his pass completion, pass attempted, and progressive passes are all so high. It's certainly progressive passes is the complete polar opposite to what Palhinha is. That even if this guy's not going to play as a 10 all of the time, and which these numbers would suggest he is more of a 10, maybe the sort of shooting numbers and assist numbers suggest he maybe plays a little bit deeper. But yeah, he's an opposite to Palhinha, and so I think it would make sense because you've then got a midfield in a double pivot that's going to complement each other well, because they are, one's good at one thing, one's good at the other, and hopefully with that it should work. And so it could be a really exciting signing. I'd like to see obviously some maybe slightly greater sources suggest that it's a possibility, but yeah, for now it could be quite an exciting signing.
I think the other thing quickly that helps is that I'm pretty sure he captained the France under-21s. So we seem to just be building this French under-21 super team, which I don't mind it, because their youngsters up and coming are a joke at the moment. So if we could build a core of the best young French players coming through, obviously the best that we can get. We're not going to get your Barcolas or whatever, but the best that we can get, then that's a good strategy.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a bit like Wolves going for all the Portuguese players. We're rebranding into Spurs.
Well, we've got the blue, we've got the white, and we've got a bit of red on the kit, so we've got their flag sorted.
Yeah, they've seen that France won the World Cup in 2018. They think that it's going to come around in 10-year cycles or something. Listen, let's move on to one of my favorite sort of segments on the videos these days, which is bringing up the old tactics board. actually, before we do that, I wanted to get your thoughts, George. I don't know if you watched the game on yesterday's. Was it yesterday or the day before now? His result against Arsenal. I think it was the day before. What did you think of it, mate? And what did you think of that Sarr goal?
Oh, the Sarr goal was lovely, wasn't it? It's so good to. Well, one, you beating Arsenal. I don't care if it's a friendly. I can't lie. I think the ferociousness of that game when you think of the Havertz sliding tackle into Romero, the how we were knocking him off the ball, like that was definitely probably the most competitive you'll see a friendly be. So, and you always want to beat Arsenal no matter when you're playing them. It felt strange watching it as in the context of it being a friendly abroad. Like it was very, very odd. But no, I liked it. I liked the fact that Frank sort of a lot of the principles were the same, but he tweaked his tactics slightly. We went a little bit more defensive, so the fullbacks stuck back a lot more than they had in the previous friendlies. And it was nice to see how we differed in more of like a mid block to low block compared to the other games to show that we can actually beat better opposition and tweak it. So yeah, there's a lot of positives to take from it in that respect. I think the negatives for me were more about the final third and our attacking in the box. I think Odegaard and Kudus were really exciting. I think they did a really good job at taking on the fullbacks. I think Richarlison had a bit of a stinker of a game. Missed that easy header at the back post. There were so many times we were running for on goal and he just kind of moves a little bit too slow. I don't know if it's just a fitness thing. I don't know if it's a Richarlison thing. But I feel like a lot of attacks just broke down. And I think also not having Maddison there in midfield didn't help either, because when you've got Lucas Berval as your number 10, he's not that sort of creative player. He's not the same as a James Maddison. You're not going to find those intrinsic passes through their defence to create openings. So all we could really rely on was Odegaard and Kudus taking on players. Odegaard obviously hit the post with one effort. And I think Kudus had one shot that was just straight at the goalkeeper. So we just didn't really create that many clear-cut chances apart from set pieces. So yeah, like there's few positives. Set pieces, defending good. Attacking in play, not so great.
Arguably, in some respects, the opposite of what happened under Ange.
Almost completely, yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Frank, I don't know if you have anything to add, or maybe we'll move on to, conscious of time, maybe we'll move on to the tactics board, actually. But feel free to mention anything about the Arsenal game comes into your mind, mate. Hopefully that all looks good on everyone's screens. But yeah, obviously, Frank, one to talk about in terms of obviously the game yesterday, but also how Palhinha fits into this team. And as George was saying, maybe more the Champions League setup and how that team may look and play next year.
We'll start with the Arsenal one because there's a couple of points, because I say it wasn't a performance that certainly going forward we could analyse overly much. But first things first, the sort of the main thing that when we pressed in a really good shape that was mainly like this. I'm not going to pull the defenders up as well, but that 4-2-4 sort of thing, and Bergvall was often the one that joined Richarlison. And it was good. It was very good. Like knowing when to press, knowing when to set off. It was considering they've worked together for 2.5, 3 weeks, whatever it's been. It was well structured. It was well organised, and I thought the whole team and the whole game was well structured and well organised. To be honest, it was probably the most structured. Obviously, it's a friendly, so it's hard to read too much into it, but probably the most structured we've been in quite a long time. As in, I don't think that Arsenal had enough clear-cut chances to win that game 3-1. Tottenham had enough clear-cut chances, amazingly, I think, to probably win that game 2 or 3-0. We saw the Mickey van der Ven one. We saw the Richarlison one. I don't think Arsenal actually had that many clear-cut chances, even without the 2 centre-halves on the pitch, which, had we said that last year, would have, we conceded a boatload of chances with those 2 on the pitch. So, yeah, that was the first thing, that pressing from the front was very good. Obviously, it was what led to the goal. Good press from David Raya. Obviously, it was probably a foul from Richarlison. But yeah, the press was what kind of led to the goal. Caught David Raya out, caught Miles Skelly out, and Sarr with an unbelievable strike. As George said, I think Richarlison was quite poor. I don't want to sort of go too much into him because I feel like I do every time we're on. But he's, I said before, he's one that frustrates
such a hater,
me.
Frank. Oh, such a
I know I am, and it's bad, and it's as I say, it's a friendly, so I shouldn't read too much into it. But I think if we really want to compete, I think he's probably got to be on the list that we could look to upgrade. Just because I think there's a lot, as you say, as George said, that he's a little bit sluggish with things. It genuinely tends to break down. Generally tends to break down when he gets on the ball. His decision making's not as quick as Kudus and certainly Odebert's is. It's little things like that I think he kind of doesn't suit this system. But other than that, as I say, the shape and the organisation was very positive. Both the wingers very positive. Kudus tended to drop in a little bit more. Odebert was the one that got more space as a result of that. And we saw it when Kudus was sort of in this area here, and Odebert had the shot, it deflected out, and Odebert ended up hitting the post. And I saw it again. There was another point in the second half where Kudus got in this area here and whipped a really good ball round to Odebert, and off we went again. And so, I mean, had Son have been maybe 3 or 4 years younger, I think he would have been literally ideal for this, because that these wingers are going to get a whole lot of space in behind and a whole lot of space in good areas. And so it's a shame we haven't got Sonny probably at his peak. But Odebert excited me. I've always quite liked him. Yesterday was probably, and I'd argue the Wickham game, I was quite impressed. But yesterday was the first time one of the first times I've really watched Odebert in a Spurs shirt and thought, I can see what the idea is. This looks good. I thought Tell was kind of the same as well when he came on. Actually, he was quite unlucky not to get an assist. The kind of the main thing that I've noticed with what they're doing now, which we saw a lot with Brentford last year and over the last few years, we saw a lot with Bournemouth. Bournemouth were probably the best at it in the league last year with Iraola, is that they don't mess about with it. They get the ball, and they get the ball in good areas, and they get it into the box, and they get a shot away, or they get, we too often last year, we'd get the ball and it would be passed around this area down here too often, or this area up here, or in these little, if you want to call it a triangle in Ange's midfield, which we often didn't have. And then it'd be fed into a striker who's got 3 men on him, and then he loses the ball and we get countered, and it was a mess. But now we're looking at we're going to get the ball in good areas. People are going to be in the box, and we're going to put it in. Tell did it with Mickey van der Ven's header quite late on, which he probably could have done better with. But on the whole, it was going forwards, as we say, that there's still a lot to work on. We're still missing that attacking midfielder, which is the link, and we don't have as of right now. But going forward, to start now, I thought that was I think the whole performance was probably the best that we've had in pre-season so far.
100%. Yeah, I think many people won't argue with you there, Frank. It was the best performance. George, I'm assuming you watched the game or saw the highlights.
Yep, I watched the game.
I know you did a breakdown. I saw your video on the I think it was the Reading game. You did the tactical breakdown on your iPad, which is great. Obviously a bit different here. It's not quite an iPad, and it's.
I use this as well. Don't worry.
But in terms of like what you saw from the games, what were your key takeaways, and how do you think we're going to play differently under Frank than Ange? Obviously, lots of different ways, but what do you think the main standout points would be to note on this sort of board here?
Yeah, I mean, it covered quite a lot of bases there. I think that was pretty spot on. I think against the sort of better teams, it definitely seemed to form that sort of 4-2-4, whereas we saw from Reading and Luton, where we were afforded more space and higher up the pitch, it was more of like a 3-2-5, where you had, against Reading specifically, Udogie was basically left wing. Whereas I imagine there's going to be plenty of games where Porro is going to be right wing, and maybe Udogie sits in as like a left centre back almost. But what I like, and what we're tweaking slightly in this one as well, is that the goalkeepers are getting involved a lot more, almost in a weird like centre back position, because there was we created a really good chance, and I think it was the Odebert shot onto the post when he was on the left wing. That all came from Vicario at the back. That clip specifically, we had Vicario on the edge of the area, and both centre backs peeled really far wide, like to past the edge of the area, sort of wide. So there was a massive gap in the middle, which meant that Odegaard and Havertz just didn't really know where to press. Obviously, one eventually ran to Vicario, but he ended up playing it long over the top. Richarlison and Kudus did a good job of winning the ball back, and then the ball went through to Odegaard, and he had a shot on, well, almost on target. So I think it's going to be all sorts of variations of that, where against tougher teams, I think we're going to have 4 players at the back and the keeper involved against the easier opposition, I think will allow one of the fullbacks to go forward a lot more and kind of create more pressure up the pitch, which is good. But I like these little tweaks. I like these little things that Frank is doing game on game, depending on who the opposition is. It's mostly the same. The way we build up is mostly the same. It's just sometimes he swaps around who the actual personnel that are doing it, which is nice. And I think all these little tiny details are what I'm a fan of. There was moments when I said earlier, like Danzo came on, was bullying Gyökeres just to make sure he didn't have an easy game. Like I remember the ball was all right wing with Arsenal with Dalman, and just it was nowhere near them. And Danzo just constantly kept on pushing Gyökeres to make him uncomfortable. It's little things like that. I think we're going to get so much better at, just to make teams uncomfortable and difficult to come to our ground, basically, or to play against us.
For what you said at the end there, George, I thought it was really interesting. Do you think we were too nice under Ange? Do you think we weren't, coming up with those old school sort of tactics?
A little bit, yeah. I think, do you know what? And I actually was a big Ange fan, and I really liked the way we attacked under Ange. I think we definitely left ourselves open for counterattacks for sure. You can see that's how we conceded goals. I think Ange has also said a lot of times that we need to be a little bit more aggressive. So I don't think it's something that he wasn't aware of. I just think maybe it wasn't a focus for him because his approach seems to be almost the exact opposite to Frank, not in terms of attacking or defending, but what to focus on first. Ange said it in multiple interviews, especially when he first joined. His whole philosophy is always about the attack. So that's what he focused on, I suppose. Like, get the attack right, score a load of goals, and then we'll work on the defense. Because last season, we were getting a bit better at set pieces under Ange compared to the season before. We were way better. We were conceding a lot less, and I think we scored a couple more than we did. But it still wasn't strong enough. Whereas Frank has come in, he's built on the attacking ideas that Ange has already instilled into the team because they press the same anyway. And I think he's just gone, all right, I need to focus on the defense, make you guys a lot more defensively assured so that we're not conceding these silly goals on the counter-attacks, which Arsenal tried to do. They tried to hit it long to Saka. They tried to hit it long to Martinelli. But because our fullbacks were a lot deeper than usual, they were having no luck whatsoever. Spence had an amazing time against Saka in that game. And Porro as well on the other side. So
his post, sorry.
Oh, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I loved it. But yeah, I think that's where they just differed slightly. I think Frank is focusing more on the defensive side at the beginning, whereas Ange seemed to focus on the offensive side at the beginning.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Do a couple more minutes. I just wanted to, if that's all right with you boys, I just wanted to bring up this again. And Frank, if you don't mind doing the honours and editing in Palhinha there instead of a Bentancur, just a couple sort of pieces on how we may be able to fit Palhinha in here and at the mercy of who, and how that sort of changes our dynamic and our shape. Because I think that would be really interesting. I actually have been meaning to do a video on how Palhinha fits into the team, which I think is going to be super interesting. So let me know, guys, if you want to see that on the channel, maybe tomorrow. But Frank, do you want to start off, and then George just sort of put your point in wherever you think is necessary on this?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I just really quickly want to touch on this as well. Just very quickly, this is kind of how we set up defensively yesterday. And when I said the shape and the organisation was very good, I think it was Kish at Lily White Lab who kind of made a really good point about this, and it was a proper low block at times yesterday. Which, don't get me wrong, we played away in Frankfurt and we were a bit more structured, a bit more defensive than usual. The final, we were a bit more structured, a bit more defensive than usual. But this is a proper low block. We at times yesterday, we sat there and we absorbed pressure brilliantly well. And a lot of the help came from the two wingers. That both Odobert and Kudus were so willing to get back and help out. Sonny did as well when he came on. Brennan as well. But there were times, as you say, that Saka was a real lack of threat. Had a real lack of threat yesterday. Spence covered him well. Odobert obviously helped. I think Spence being right-footed probably helps, because if Saka wants to cut in, he's kind of, he can match that. But yeah, I mean, quite often, I think probably until Max Dalman came on, that was probably the biggest threat from the wide areas that we actually dealt with yesterday. And so I was very impressed again with the shape of it. And all Palhinha does by coming in is reinforce that. He makes that, you're even more solid because you've got someone that's almost he's another defensive-minded player, and you add to that. So when you play a team like Burnley on that first day, and you're going to have a lot of the ball and whatever, he's not going to be the one you necessarily want on the ball because he's not a creator. This is when you probably want Bergvall or Bentancur in this area and James Maddison in here, and you can afford to do that because Burnley are more often than not going to sit back. They might go at you a little bit, and you've got to be then clever about how many players you've got pushing forward. But yeah, in games like the Burnley game, Palhinha is not going to be the one that's going to win you that game. But when we go to the Etihad in the second week of the season, and we play games like Arsenal in the Champions League a lot, because you're going to have tough games in that Champions League. I mean, at least probably 4 of your games in the Champions League, if not 6, are going to be unbelievably difficult games that are going to really test you as a side, and they're going to be tougher than probably playing Burnley at home. That even if you're going away to somewhere, Restel, Belgrade, or one of these guys, that's going to be just as tough because they're going to fancy their chances. That's their big day out. They've one of their big days out. They've got a big Premier League side. They're going to want to win these games, and that's when you need someone with a backbone, someone that can lead a side. And we have lacked that for a very long time, really. And so Palhinha suits that perfectly for those sorts of games, the Champions League. Obviously, as I say, City, the big teams in the Premier League, the big teams that are going to, and even teams sort of like maybe Brighton, teams like that are going to come at you and try and score goals, and he will stop that. But when you play teams that you're going to have a lot of the ball against, he's not going to be the one. As I say, you're going to want Bergvall, you're going to want Bentancur, whoever it be, in with Pape Sarr or whatever combination, because those guys are going to break you down.
Interesting stuff. Interesting with the double pivot, Palhinha and Sarr. George, do you think that would work, or would you play someone else here? I mean, Bergvall as the 10. Frankie, is that what you're stressing for the season, or is this more about the Arsenal game?
No, this was literally just the lineup of yesterday with Palhinha instead of Bentancur. So that's
got it. Okay, then. So final point then for George. What is your 11, George, for this coming season? And assuming Palhinha fits into that lineup, how would you line up, mate?
I think it genuinely just changes week on week, as you were saying there. I think, like you said, but Palhinha will come in against tougher opposition. I think if you're going to play him more often than not, then I think you basically then have to choose between Sarr, Bergvall, and Bentancur to play alongside him, which I know to some might be a headache, but it's probably a nice headache to have. I see definitely Maddison has to be the 10 more often than not. But obviously, if we do end up signing someone like Milot, then naturally you got to start thinking about where does he come into it as well. So for me, it's going to be game dependent. Like when you look at West Ham at home last year, I think it was, the game didn't start off too great, I don't think. But then you had Sarr came on, and I think he completely changed the game. So there are going to be some games where a Sarr's going to work because he's just got the legs, and maybe he's adding attacking ability into his game. Maybe you just need a bit more maturity in Bentancur, so he'll be alongside Palhinha. Maybe you get some really tough opposition. You go for those two as more experienced players. But Bergvall was unbelievable last year for the second half, but so far in pre-season, he's been committing a lot of fouls, which I think he just needs to work on. I know he's trying to be aggressive, but almost not in a clever way. So I think you just end up rotating between those alongside him. And what I like about Palhinha as well is when we do sort of a build up in this 3-2-5 shape, what we saw at Reading and Luton, I believe, and Wickham, was that one of the fullbacks was tucking in and the other one was the one that was playing advanced. I think what Palhinha allows you to do, similar to what Bentancur, actually, I think Bentancur did this against Luton, sorry. Palhinha will sit in between Romero and Van der Ven, or Danzo and Van der Ven, or Danzo and Romero, whoever it may be. I think he will sit in between those two, and that allows both Porro and maybe Spence, maybe Udogie, whoever it is, to be attacking and join the front line with the forwards, who a lot of our forwards are better on the inside anyway. So, and if you've got your fullbacks creating that width, and then you're keeping a couple in the middle still, or maybe one of the fullbacks slots into the middle. I don't know how Frank wants to set up, but I think he just adds so much more solidity in our build-up in that sense. Different option.
Yeah, so Absolutely, I completely agree with you. Frank, if you want to drag Palhinha in front of Van de Ven and Danzo there, which would obviously be Romero in the season, then and then Porro and Spence creating the white width. Obviously, it would be Udogie, depending on his injury. Then you start seeing the shape more. Obviously, that's probably a bit of an over exaggeration on the Palhinha, but yeah, something like that. Exactly. I think that's what you were kind of saying there, George, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. And then you can have Odebear, or let's say Odebear's tail, or I don't know, maybe even still like they would tuck in a bit more, Kudus would tuck in a bit more, and then you've got your whip coming from Spence and Porro. I think stuff like that would work really well against some of the lower opposition, maybe. So maybe there is a chance for Palhinha to work against lesser opposition if we think we're better off attacking with our fullbacks and letting them whip crosses in as opposed to our as opposed to our wingers.
Sure, 100%. And then finally, the Odebear on that left side. I think that will be Tell. I'm just thinking about the lineup for the start of the season against Burnley. I'm trying to picture the Burnley lineup. I think that would be Tell on the left with Odebear instead of Odebear coming in more towards Solanke up front instead of Richarlison. I think we'll see Kudu start over Johnson to start with, which is obviously a debate. George, I guess you'd start Kudus as well over.
Yeah. Kudus, I think he's really impressed me so far. I love the signing anyway, but I'm really pleased with what I've seen so far with him.
Okay, cool. Let's just tweak this and then we'll wrap things up. Frank, if you don't mind, just tweaking those lineups. I just want to picture it for the season. So we've got Van de Ven, Romero, Palhinha, Udogie, Porro. Yeah, I think that's. I'm still not sure on the number on the second midfielder there. Bergvall. Do you think it's such a headache? Bergvall Sarr or Bergvall Maddison or Sarr Maddison?
I think at the moment with how he's been playing, I think Sarr gets in first potentially, and then. I would still have Maddison if he's fit and available. Maddison.
So Maddison for Bergvall there, Frank, and then I think and then obviously Solanke instead of Richarlison, Tell instead of Odebear. I think we're there, aren't we? I think that was probably what we will start with, right?
I think there's every chance that Odebear does start as well.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think he did quite impress me. He impressed me quite a bit yesterday, and I think he just needs to be a little bit more. Show a bit more personality, be a bit more aggressive, and I think he's working his way in there.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully that's food for thought, guys. Let us know in the comments below if you're watching on repeat, if you're watching on live. Let us know in the comments below after the video ends. If you agree with that lineup, hopefully you enjoyed that trying to round up and that tactics at the end. That was a solid hour. I said to George, we go live for 40 minutes. I lied again. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Guys, before you all click off this video, please do me 5 massive favors. The high 5. Smash the like button. Let's get it to 100 likes on this video. Smash the subscribe button and subscribe to Spurs Related. We're on our way to 5,000, then 5,000 before the season starts. Turn the notification bells on. Ring them in the chat. And 2 more massive things for our great guests that have joined. Well, Frank obviously being my co-host, but please guys go and check out George's channel. Really appreciate his time today, and George, it's been great to have you back on. I've seen you've just uploaded a video which links to what we've just talked about. Do you want to just quickly let people know what they can find on your channel, because it's super great analysis over there, mate.
Yeah, appreciate it, mate. Thank you. And yeah, I'm going into my analysis era now. It's just something I do when I'm like at home anyway. And I'm like, all right, I've made vlogs and stuff before, but why not actually turn them into videos? So I've been focusing a lot on that this preseason. I literally just uploaded my kind of full breakdown and analysis from the Arsenal game yesterday into what Thomas Frank tweeted. We covered a lot of it today anyway. But yeah, if you fancy a little bit more in depth, I think it's like a 20-minute video. Go check it out.
Please do go and do that, guys. Maybe whack in George's comments, Spurs related raid or something like that.
Let's see the let me know if you've come from here. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, exactly that. The Spurs related raid over there. Hopefully you got some of you guys over there. I'm sure a lot of you subbed to George already anyway. Bit of an OG in the Spurs community. But also, please go and check out Frank's new channel that he started out, where he's going to be doing a lot of shorts and a lot of tactical stuff as well over there. Frank, do you want to talk to the Spurs-related viewers? I know a lot of people love your tactical analysis, mate, over here. What's coming up on your channel, mate?
Yeah, there's as of right now very little in terms of what's out there. There's a couple of shorts and bits, which is no different from my TikTok currently. But throughout the season, I'm doing my next coaching badge starting in September, so that will be something that's documented alongside doing some analysis of bits. And yeah, basically just from there's going to be a lot of games next season to dissect and go through. So yeah.
Awesome stuff. How many subs have you got at the moment, Frank? I know it's a new channel.
200 something, 205 or something. So
guys, let's go and get Frank to at least 250 subscribers, please. There's 150 of you. It's literally a simple click and subscribe. Please do that for both George and Frank's channels. I would really, really appreciate you do that, as well as liking this stream. We're on 90 likes. Let's get that to 100 and subscribe if you are new, guys. That has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you all so much for your comments. Thanks to the wonderful guests. And as always, guys, remember, come on, you Spurs. We're winning everything.